Of course, the whole reason that oxygen is being pumped to the cells is so the mitochondria can use that oxygen to produce the energy. So the final type of hypoxia, and this is less common and certainly I don't understand this that well, but it's where the tissues are unable to use that oxygen efficiently. So the oxygen is getting all the way from the outside air, all the way through the oxygen chain. The oxygen is actually diffusing into the cells, but the cells themselves are unable to use that oxygen properly. The mitochondria cannot utilise it in the production of energy. And one of the classic ones of this is cyanide poisoning. Cyanide completely blocks one of the enzymes that is essential for the conversion of glucose and oxygen into energy. It completely blocks that. So if you have a large dose of cyanide, everything stops. The heart stops, the brain stops. That's why it's such a dangerous poison. And you can get this after fires, for example. Some plastics, when they burn, will release cyanide fumes and people can inhale them. And of course, that's a possible cause of death in fires. Now, the process of energy production inside cells using oxygen also requires some vitamin Bs. So some patients that are short of vitamin B will develop this type of histotic hypoxia. Hypoxia at the level of the tissues, this inability of the tissues to use the oxygen. And with vitamin Bs, the tissues that are normally affected first are nervous tissues, giving rise to neurological features. Alcohol will actually cause a degree of histotic hypoxia. Alcohol will inhibit the ability of the mitochondria to use oxygen. So if you think about it, if we have a mitochondria here inside the cell, is the mitochondria with its highly enfolded inner membrane. And oxygen is being delivered as normal. Oxygen is being delivered. But the mitochondria cannot use the oxygen efficiently. That means two things. It means that alcohol will reduce the efficiency with which cells produce energy. But also, if the mitochondria aren't using the oxygen, what's happening to this oxygen? Well, it's staying in the cell. This is the cytosol of the cell here. It's staying in the cell. And that will cause a great deal of oxidative stress on the cell. Because oxygen will oxygenate things. It will damage healthy tissues. Oxygen, actually, apart from the mitochondria, is a poison. Too much oxygen will damage cells. It's essential for the mitochondria, that's why we need it. But otherwise it will damage cells and cause the generation of free radicals. And this is perhaps the main mechanism by which alcohol damages liver cells. Well, one of the mechanisms. The accumulation of free radicals. Highly reactive oxygen-type species that are damaging the cells. That's why it's important to eat plenty of antioxidants, which scavenge these free radicals. Vitamins A, C and E, selenium, flavonoids from coloured fruits and vegetables that mop up the free radicals. So the mitochondria normally using the oxygen, but unable to. I've just thought of something else actually. Carbon monoxide, we know that causes the formation of carboxyhemoglobin, but recently we've also discovered that carbon monoxide inhibits the efficiency of the mitochondria. So carbon monoxide poisoning primarily is going to cause hypoxia via the mechanism of increased blood levels of carboxyhemoglobin, as we looked at with our truck. But also it's going to cause a degree of histotic hypoxia. It's going to inhibit the ability of the tissues to utilise the oxygen. Now in histotic hypoxia, if the tissues are unable to use the oxygen efficiently, what's that going to do to the amount of oxygen in the venous blood? Well, if the tissues aren't using the oxygen, can you see there's going to be increased amounts of oxygen in the venous blood? So that's one way you can detect for the presence of histotic hypoxia. If you have the facility to do blood gas analysis and you do a blood gas on venous blood, you'll find out that the PO2 levels, the proportion of oxygen in the venous blood will be increased, indicating there is a histotic hypoxia. So histotic hypoxia, an inability of the cells and tissues themselves to utilise oxygen which is delivered to them.